Live. Welcome back to the Comics Cube, everyone. Welcome back to the Comics Cube, Budjette. And welcome to the Comics Cube for the first time, Bo Guerrero. We are
Hello,
talking
everyone.
about your collaboration, Ever Wonder, which is a children's book. And I'm going to start with one simple question, which is, are children's books
The
comics?
Comics Cube budget now.
Are children's books comics?
Should I take a crack at that, or do you want to take a crack at
Go
that?
ahead, Budge.
Well, I was about to say, Dewey, thank you for bending the rules a bit, and now it's the storybook cube, at least for one episode.
The
Uh,
picture book polygon.
yeah. Oh, picture book polygon. I like that. Ooh, spin-off show, Dewey. Perfect. Yeah. I mean, yeah. It is words and pictures put together, right? So it just so happens that there are no panels.
Budge.
And
If
interesting.
if you took Bo's drawings and put them all in a screen right next to each other, they are panels.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
Um,
true. I think we were planning to do that, right? To cut on time.
What do you
yeah,
think, Bo?
when we were talking about formats and before you arrived at this format. But yeah, I was about to say that I have seen some storybooks that have incorporated panels, right? So the traditional storybook is this format, which we decided to do, which is like copy and art, right? But some and the more modern one is like it's just like one big illustration and just have copies, at the top or at the bottom. But yeah, I have seen, especially from Seraph's books, of like storybooks that have started to you open to a spread and then they just have like little panels that zoom in. So maybe it's because, yeah, it's these modern day authors and artists have grown up with comics and have just started to play around with the format. So that's my excuse why we're here. But
Well, on the other side of things, actually, I mean, Budge and I have been comic book fans for the longest time. I mean, ever since we were in shorts, right? We've been buying comics ever since. And the thing is, I think children's books is they kind of evolved in some way in terms of their storytelling, and that's why I think a lot of comic book writers or comic book artists also do children's books. And the nice thing about the nice thing about children's books is it's actually aimed you can actually aim that at two two types of people. You can aim it for the kids, and you can aim it for the adults, because the adults, they want to retain that feeling of wonder, that being a kid again. And children's books can do that. Very different from comic books in that sense. So in comic books, you do get engrossed in the detail and in the sequential way of the story, the way the story is told, right? But I know that some artists like Will Eisner, and they've tried to incorporate single panel art and already try to tell a lot with one panel alone. So in that way, there is, I think, a marriage. There's a very distinct relationship between creatives who do comics and creatives who do children's books. So they are very, very similar. And in terms of interest, in terms of story, what you can put in it, very much the same in that way. So I think the only thing that children's book has, I think, above comics is the fact that immediately people will say, I'll buy this for my kids. You know, I'll get this for my kids immediately. If they see it and they like it, they will give it to their kids. Comics, you need to sort of grow into it somehow. Uh,
Or I
in
guess
a
I
way,
read it for
yeah.
my kid.
No, I'm thinking more of general. Budge and I have worked in advertising, and the way we sort of break down the market, it's a bit different. So I think I think that's why Budge and I wanted to do this, because it really does. I know it really does uh, speak to our the kid inside of us, and comics can do that too. But again, if you look at if you read through Ever Wonder, you can see it's a bit more poetic the way it's done, even through the art and the way we melded the copy or the script with it. It's a bit more poetic. It's a bit more easy to digest in that way. So there. That's my reason.
I think, Bo, that your artwork in Ever Wonder does that thing where it amplifies the words, right? Because I think one of the main differences between children's books and comics, or storybooks and I'm not going to say children's books, picture books and comics, is that traditionally you could just read the words in a picture book and you don't really have to look at the pictures. Although most of the time the pictures are really nice. But I think you do that thing where you add to Budge's words and you change and you amplify the message that's there. By the way, we are to the audience. We are live with Budgetan and Guerrero. If you have any questions for both of them, please drop them in the chat. They will answer them because they have to on this live stream. Bo, I have one question that I ask everyone who comes on my show for the first time. So you
Yeah,
don't.
sure.
So you have to answer it, which is, why do you love comics?
Oh, well. Uh, Unfortunately, my answer is going to be really boring. I discovered comics when I was probably in grade three. I was in Ateneo, and I discovered it in Phil bars near our house. We were pretty near Green Hills, so
Mhm.
that was where Phil bars first started. So I sort of like bought one, and that was the only I between. Of course, I also read books, but it was one of those things that the moment I opened a comic book, I was just absorbed, and I could escape. The thing is, as a kid, that was one of the things you wanted to do, was sort of escape. I know there's some sort of negative connotation to escaping, but that's escaping is not bad, especially when you're a child. You're trying to escape to something wondrous, something really more amazing than what is in front of you, right, in reality. So that's what comic did for me. And I remember the first comic book I ever bought was a Superboy digest. So it was pretty small, and then
I
right
approve.
after that, yeah, right after that, I went into John Byrne's Fantastic Four. So it's from Fantastic Four. I followed John Byrne throughout, from Fantastic Uncanny X-Men, Fantastic Four, Alpha Flight. He did Namor, he did Superman. So I followed them all throughout. And then another comic book artist at the same time, a friend of ours, JB Tapia, I guess, the artist of Verdugo, he introduced me to Walt Simonson at the same time. So he'd be buying Thor, I'd be buying Fantastic Four, and we'd like switch and read each other's comic book. And then after that, of course, that interest just grew and grew and grew, and you can't. Once you get into comic books, it's kind of hard to quit. Especially when at that time I felt it felt to me like it was the golden era. Uh, So right after
And
that,
and then Byrne left
let's
Fantastic Four, and Simonson did Fantastic Four, and boom.
exactly, which I also followed. So there you go.
Okay, okay. Let's talk about Everwonder. Here's my first question: what's Charlie Brown doing on the cover?
Is he on the upper left? Where is he?
It's a silhouette. That's the shape of his head.
Oh, oh yeah, 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 yeah. Well, it's also the silhouette of the main character, so
Yeah.
he is sort of based on. No, no, he's not based on Charlie Brown.
Budge, Everwonder. You know what? Here's what I will say. If you look at social media lately, you will see a lot of things saying, hey, the new trend is tell us what you were up to in 2016. Budge, did something significant happen in your life in 2016?
Nice segue, Dewey. Yep, I guess that's connected to the secret origin of Everwonder, right? So 2016 was when Seraph was born. And funnily enough, when he was born, it was around the same time I got an invitation from Summit Books to contribute to this book. So Letters to My Children. And they invited a very intimidating list of people like Lea Salonga, Gary Valenciano, Jesse Robredo, Risa Contiveros, Lance Gokongwei, and they all wrote 35 parents all in all. So they all wrote letters to their children. And the interesting thing was that some of them wrote to their children, and their children were already teenagers or adults, but Sarah was just a couple of months old back then. So I ended up writing this, which got ended up with the title of Things That Go Bump in the Night. And yeah, it was essentially like the first couple of pages of what ended up in the Ever Wonder book of telling him why he shouldn't be afraid of the dark, and that if there's anything scary in the dark, you can turn that into a wonderful story. Yeah, I guess that's where it all began.
And when did you decide to make it a storybook?
So I told you I had a show and tell. So this was a painting that Bo gave to us before we left. It's the reflection getting in the way. So Bo gave us two paintings of this kid in a cape running in some fantasy world. There are two of these. So he made one which is daytime, and another one which is nighttime, and it hangs on my wall here in my room. So it's just one of those things that I kept seeing, every day. When did I think um, it could be a storybook? It was when I got Seraph some storybooks from Oliver Jeffers, and he wrote a book which in the dedication page he wrote he's I'm writing this book for my newborn child as a guide to the earth, right? So it's a storybook, but he talks about how he tells his kids that this is the earth. It has water and dry parts and things like that. But eventually, as you read the book, he talks about from the planet to animals to its people, and about society, right? So in a very childlike way, he talks about for us to survive in this planet, we all need to get along. Was essentially the takeaway of that book. And when I read that book to Seraph, it had a dedication in it. So Seraph said, "Have you ever dedicated the book to me?" And I said, "I did something better. I wrote the I lost the book. I wrote you a letter which ended up in this book." So I read him the letter, and he was just so happy to hear, um, the letter. And I realized it was my first time to ever read it to him. Maybe he was like 6 or 7
Oh, wow.
back then. Um, and he was just smiling of like, wow, this was a letter for me, and it's now in a book, right? Um, and I guess somewhere in between that, I coming back to my room a couple of days later, I saw Bo's artwork again, and that I guess is when we started corresponding about, hey, Maybe here's a letter I wrote for Sarah. Maybe we can turn it into a book.
Bo, is that in fact the first time that Budge pitched you the idea of turning this into a book?
Yes, actually, I remember him pitching it to me. The very, very first time he pitched it to me twice. So the first time was, I just woke up, literally woke up to his phone call. And I was
How
like,
rude.
oh, well, what's
I
what's
don't keep track of
happening?
the time.
What is this call about? And then, he told me about the letter. And, it was pretty close to the time he wrote the letter. So he said, I have an idea. Let's make it a children's book. And I said, game. And then years later,
Budge, do you
years
remember
later,
that at all?
nothing happened.
Vaguely. See, Bo remembers this clearly. I vaguely
Yeah.
remember waking
Okay.
up.
Anyway.
And then he calls me a second time. This is when we got serious about it. So it was in 2023, I think, when he called. And then when he told me about it, I already said I was on board. Let's do this thing. But as always, every time Budge and I collaborate on something, the first thing I tell him is, Budge, can it be longer? So I see the script, and then it's great. I mean,
Yeah.
it's finished, it's done. But then I always tell him, Budge, let's make it longer. We can add so much stuff to this. It's like it's already great, and it's a great platform. You can already extend it. So originally, what would have been just a few illustrations, I guess, a few pages of illustrations. We decided to turn it into a full blown book already. So there you go. That was a lot of back and forth on our side, but budget is very generous in that way that he doesn't really tell me what to do. So he just knows what he doesn't want. So he just tell me if there's something there that he doesn't want or change something, he'll just tell me. But more or less, he just like go do your thing. So okay, yeah.
What
Yeah, I think
specific thing does he not want?
Well, the first pushback I ever got was if you see the book, if you turn to the page wherein there are three kids flying on a book, they're like
Okay.
zooming through the zooming through the yeah.
That one?
That was one of the first artworks I ever did, and I told him it's gonna be the cover, and then he told me that's not gonna be the cover. It's not good enough.
Oh no, I didn't
No,
say
he
that.
didn't say. Okay, he didn't say not good enough.
You
But
read my mind, though.
yeah, but he said it's
I,
not gonna be the cover.
yeah,
Let's
yeah.
try another thing. Let's try another thing. So those are the kinds of pushbacks, and uh, I'm just happy to redo the stuff because I already know the story's so solid. The words are solid, and the flow, and I don't have to worry about those things. I just have to worry about creating these images, for it. So I just told him that one I only had one thing. I told him let's just make sure that each artwork is a standalone, wherein parents can actually take a look at it again with their kids and create their own story out of it. You know,
Every single page you can kick off with something else. Oh.
yeah.
So this is one of when I don't know if I got this book when we were already hanging out back then, Bo. So this is a book called The Mysteries of Harris Burdick by Chris Van Allsburg. And if you get
Yeah,
the
you,
book,
you lent that to me.
yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
that was why I
It went
wanted to do
around,
children's
right?
books actually.
So if you get the book, it actually does not have a story, but it contains a dozen or so artwork. And then beside each artwork is one line, right?
Oh.
And this and the meta fiction part of it is it talks about how the publisher of the book received these drawings from a certain Harris Burdick, delivered the drawings. Each drawing just had one line. And then Burdick said, "Oh, I'll come back the next day." And he never did. And years passed, and supposedly Harris Burdick never returned to the publisher. So the publisher said, "Oh, we are publishing the artwork of Harris Burdick. We never knew what he wanted to do, but maybe you can come up with a storyline." So like he would like, what was your favorite here, Bo? So for example, he would have like, an image like that, right? And then you could see
Oh,
lines coming out of the book, right? And then it just says the title is Mr. Linden's
Yeah.
Library. He had warned her about the book. Now it was too late. So it's just enough of a prompt to make you go, "Oh
Yeah.
my God, what's this all about?" And I love this
Yeah.
one. And
this is great for aspiring writers.
the title is The Seven Chairs, and the one line it says is the fifth one ended up in France. And sorry, my last example is because Stephen King actually wrote a story about this. And this is the picture of a house lifting off.
Oh,
And then the title is The House on Maple Street. And the one line it comes with was, "It was a perfect liftoff." So this was the book we passed around back during our college days. And because there was no
It was
internet back
30
then,
years ago.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
we would, there would be times when we just like open this book and talk about what could this be or what could that be, and hence the thinking behind all of the artwork in the book, where even though you have copy that's from the letter, right, you could take that one image and hopefully get inspired and run away with, "Oh, I wonder what this could what happens next," essentially.
that's what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be inspiring you to create. And you know, the first half of the book is very successful in doing that. And then I noticed that the second half of the book talks about the people you meet along the way and how sometimes those things might end. So I kind of didn't expect that kind of level of reality and perhaps adult sadness from this book when I was reading it.
Where's Bo right now? That was Bo's idea.
Yeah. Well, it actually came from the idea of we've experienced death a lot, and kids have to learn how to handle these things as well. And we thought it should be in the book somehow. That unpleasant things, really unpleasant things. There's a way around it through stories. And I think Budge wrote it beautifully, the way that part went. So there.
That was admittedly that was the toughest part to try and write about, um how relationships don't always go your way. And
Mhm.
yes, that you have to that there will be death, essentially, was the discussion. And I think that was, um me and Bo had a good friend, Roger Fortacuna, who is the reason why we met, because I met Rog in high school, and Bo and JB and Alan, they were the original four. They were the Fantastic Four. Before I was just Herbie the Robot when I joined when I became part
Mm.
of their barkada. But yeah, I was talking to Rog about,
I thought you were Medusa, but okay.
could have been, could have been. Yeah, I wish I had Medusa's hair now. But anyway, I told Rog back in high school, it's like, "I've got these, let's make a comic book." And Rog, even though he could draw, he said, "I have a better idea. You need to meet these guys, and they're fantastic artists and storytellers." And that's how I met Bo and JB. But yeah, unfortunately, unfortunately, a year before we all graduated, Rog passed away. And that was something we all went through. And I think I think we've been um, trying to tell the same kind of stories that we love telling when Rog was around. Whenever we would hang out at Mr. Donut, that was our regular what do you call this, Friday nights was spent either at Mr. Donut or at Bo's house or at my
Yeah.
house. And again, we just sit around getting too much caffeine and sugar, and that would fuel us through the evening, coming up with stories and ideas and universes, I guess, ultimately.
Mr. Donut, life was so different.
The only 24-hour place, Dewey, that in Dunkin' Donuts.
Dunkin' Donuts. Bo, you are Seraph's Ninong.
Yes.
And you base the main character off of Seraph. Which means also that whenever Seraph's dad shows up, Budjette shows up in the book.
Yeah.
Um, uh, how did you can you talk to me about your process and your design process for everything else?
Well, actually, everything starts. I do everything digital, but everything starts now with, of course, with me. It's just usually a piece of paper, so something like this. Uh, a piece of paper, and these are my tools before I actually get into the computer. So I usually have like a fountain pen, this one. Uh,
Mhm.
different because it has something metal at the end, easier to draw, no drag. And then I just keep on sketching. Oh, sorry, I'm disappearing. Sorry.
It's okay.
Yeah,
Oh,
but
okay.
these are I do sketches, and I do them over and over until I sort of get something right. So if I need to design the Seraph character, the hero character of Seraph in the book, I actually have to draw him like 100 times, sort of. And when I thought I was really happy, this is the second time Budget says, "No, we gotta change that one." I drew the guy in the kid, I guess a more Western style look to him, and Budge said, "No, can you sort of make it more look like Seraph?" Which was a bit easier actually for me to do, because I had a few pictures of Seraph, and then at that time Seraph didn't have his front teeth. So right now, if you see Seraph, of course, I don't think he likes the fact that he has no front teeth in the book. But at the time we started, he didn't have those front teeth. So I thought it was a bit easier to do that, right? Yeah. Especially the shape of his eyes is very distinct. So if you see his eyes open, they're shaped differently, very distinct. And I immediately got that. And Budge was right. It added more character, and definitely, yeah. So there, it usually goes through a lot of those sketches. Before I actually get into the computer to draw, I've already sketched out 50 or 30, things, and finalized it in these roughs already before because I hate fixing stuff on the computer once you've drawn them. I hate just going back and trying to fix everything. So I try to fix everything while they're still rough on paper. So everything from the night you see there, the dog designs,
The
they
night that
they
is a
have
dog.
to, yeah, the night that is a dog, the moon dog there, the howler dog. So that it took a long time to actually design that, because the original one he was on all fours, and I already drew a finished page of him in all fours. So we changed that because it just didn't feel as majestic or as wonderful, as magical as a, a biped, a dog who's a biped, right? So we had to change that one. We had to change that whole scene. uh, but yeah, the process is pretty much that you do hundreds of sketches, send it to Budge, and then if he says go, that's the only time I start on the computer. So
If I can jump in, I guess like my question, Bo, if you can share with, I mean, talking about specifically about process. Like, so for example, when Bo said I give him freedom to like do stuff, it's really because the script is so loose, right? So
Mhm.
for example, in the scene where the tree outside your door is a skyport for elves who are going on a tour of the night sky. So I didn't describe what the ship was. So in my head, it was a floating galleon, but Bo came up with a better idea, which was the jellyfish ship.
yeah,
Stuff like that.
yeah.
Stuff like that, Bo. Talk about how, are those like first things that come to your head, or
Well,
which
no,
hey,
actually, it's very
that's what
close.
that's what helped the sell the book to the publishers, right? So we only
Really,
had
the jellyfish ship.
yeah, we only
Yeah.
had a few drawings of I asked Bo, can you make a couple of sketches? And when the publisher saw the jellyfish ship, they just loved that that whimsical moment. Sorry, go ahead, Bo.
Oh yeah. Oh well. The first time I thought of that ship, actually, it's pretty close to your idea. It was gonna be some sort of steampunk sort of ship, But then after I thought about it, I remember this book that one of when I was a bit younger. No, just 10 or 15 years ago, I think. One of my creative directors gave me a book where it's a matrix of how to create really different creatures or things, and it's a Japanese book, so it literally has diagrams for you on how to mix insect with man with a cat, or that's why that's why the Japanese are so great at creating these crazy ideas, right? Once you see them on manga or an anime, they're just nuts. So I sort of thought about that, not as extreme as the Japanese, but what would be an interesting thing, and one of the most graceful things in the ocean is a jellyfish. Actually, I think when you see it move, it's like it's flying. So I was just thinking, it would be interesting to actually see these things for real in the sky, and that was one of the reasons. And I totally trashed the steampunk ship and just said, no, these are pilots who pilot living ships. And it would be these jellyfish ships. And you would be floating inside. There are no chairs or anything. You'll just be stuck inside in the goo. you
Yeah,
know?
yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
And again, what makes that unique is that we've seen. I mean, I don't know which anime it was, but it's like we've seen humpback whales floating in the sky, and so many of them. I mean, Star Wars now has space whales, right? The X-Men had space whales.
Yes.
So I think, yeah, and I've seen other storybooks where they've shown whales and sharks flying in the sky. So the idea of the jellyfish just made it just somehow make sense, but at the same time, it's something we haven't seen. So I think that's one of the things that definitely Bo has brought into Ever Wonder, of like stuff that we haven't seen. It's familiar, but we haven't seen it before.
Well, that actually was going to go to my next question, Butch, which is you mentioned the script being so loose. So the ship is at least that's a visual thing, right? That's a visual thing that Bo can play off of. What about things like this,
Oh yeah.
where the script has no visuals to it whatsoever? Do you give any suggestions first, or do you just go, "Hey, Bo, ikaw na"?
For most of it, I think, right, Mo?
Well, the first no, the first time I read the first draft of that, I think the first draft is a bit different but the thought is the same. And in that idea, it was like, the idea of going around and around. Sometimes it feels like that when you're thinking or trying to come up with a story or trying to come up with your own playtime stories. You just keep on going around and around, and you're trying to figure out something. So I figured, okay, let's just do it. When you go around and around, usually it's like a maze, right? It's a maze that doesn't seem like it has uh, an end, or there's no exit to it. So that's pretty much what I visualized in my mind when I thought about that. So originally it was going to be a curved, it was going to be a traditional type of maze wherein you have a lot of these pathways, but that doesn't really tell you going around and around. So I was thinking you have to simplify it a bit. You have to simplify the maze to really sell the idea. So that's how it turned out. I'm just happy that Budge approved. I was like, ah.
But yeah, I think we start. Yeah, as Bo said, everything was a black and white sketch. It was like a thumbnail sketch before he got into any details. So a lot of this was like, yeah, so that Bo could really just concentrate on rendering and putting the details and all of those things. I think it really helped that we went through that phase along with our editor, with Leo Mangubat of Summit Books, of going through these things. So yeah.
Budge, you wrote the original letter in 2016. You started working on this in 2023. It is now 2026. How have how has the sentiment of the letter evolved as your son has grown and you have grown with him?
Yeah, I think, as I mentioned in the afterword, it really grew because of the moments I did share the initial letter. And by that time, he was like, what, 3 years old, or he was already like 5 years old. So it kind of echoed what was going through, what it was like growing up with him, raising him, playing with him. Um, and then yeah, I guess it was like and then when Bo said we got to talk about the tough bits, right? So it was me trying to imagine how can I talk to him at this particular age. If we had I'm gonna go off on a tangent, and if I don't come back, you have to reel me back in. But we had back in high school, we had one of those things that teachers make you do, right? So we read a short story in Filipino about um, a husband and wife with a kid, and the wife dies, and the dad needs to explain to his kid what happened to the mom, right? And it's like a young kid. And I think the teacher just went, "All right, all of you have to go up in front of the class and pretend to be the dad and come up with a speech on how to tell your son that his mom has passed away," right?
My God.
which like which lets the teacher just sit in the back of the cell, and everyone just goes up in front, right? Um, and then so we had to do that. So we had to like, and I can't remember what I said. I just remember how everyone in class made fun. We had one classmate who was already like a weightlifter back in high school, and he was like saying, son, some people just go up to heaven. It's like, um, so, but it was like, it just made that, I guess that's what made me think of like, oh, and again, I can't remember what I said, but it was like, yeah, how do I talk about people going away, that the people that you meet, the friends that you meet for that matter, won't always be your friends, or they might have to, whether it's physically, or, relationships fall apart, or especially Seraph, now that he is in an international school, there will be years when he's like really good friend would have to fly back home, right? And then of course the thinking of like of how to explain death to a young kid. So I guess that's what I was trying to talk about and reflect upon the really close loved ones and friends that have passed away. Um, and I guess this is how I would explain it to him. Funnily enough, one of the big changes that happened in the book was because that was the tail end of the book, right? In the original draft, it ends with that where it talks about that wonderful scene that Bo made of it's a train station and you see the friend waving goodbye as this beautiful white stallion pulls the carriage away. It that's where it ends before you flip to the page where it says uh, um, and tell your story because tell your story your way, and then it ends with the moment where it's the dad and the kid in the tree and you see the dragonfly. So
Mhm.
I had told this version to Seraph. I showed it to him on my laptop. The next day or 2 days later, a friend came over and Seraph said, "Dad, you need to show the book to Tita." And he showed it to our friend, and he was the one telling the story. And then when he gets to the part where it's about death, so he's like telling the story. It's like, oh, this is like the jelly ships, and then this is the part of the robots and the. And then when he gets to the part about death, he goes sad part, sad part, sad part. He skips it. He completely skips that.
Oh,
He goes sad part, sad part, sad part, and then ending. I go, oh, interesting. He skipped the sad parts. So that's why, if you notice, we needed a way to segue out of the talking about that serious part into again talking about the importance of telling your story. So that's why we moved I think three moments to before we hit the end. And then I asked Bo, can you do one more draw? Everything was done. Everything was 100% done. And said, Bo, here's this moment where it talks about tell your story because other people may laugh at it, but there's going to be that one person who will hear your story and they will hear it at the moment when they most need it and they will be so thankful for it. So that was actually the last drawing that Bo quickly whipped up before everything went to press. Um, and yeah, so I think that was just a way to thinking about how Seraph reacted to the story.
This one?
No, no, the one before that. So it's
This one.
that one. So that was the last artwork made for the book. Um, and yeah, I think it's I guess yeah I got to do my focus group on the book.
I was going to say you used your own son as your own focus group.
But yeah, I think it's
An
still
FGD of one.
always even for my day job, he's my FGD one.
yeah.
And actually, when we finished this, what I told Bo was, I think soon after it was all sent to press, and Bo saw the color proofs. I was like saying, I think everything that I need to say to Seraph up to the age of 10, 11, 12 is in this book. I now wonder what I need to tell him when he hits 13 all the way up to 18. And Bo said, sure, we've got a lot of years before he hits that age. We should start writing that now.
Of course, those are the ages when it's most unpredictable.
Yeah, and he probably won't care about the storybook by that point. But when it'll be relevant when he hits in his 20s or 30s. So then it'll be
Like, I wish I read this when I was 13, Dad. And you'll be like, I did give it to you. Here's my I think this is my last question. So if anybody has questions in the chat, please feel free to put them in the chat so that Bo and Budge have to answer it. But as you were showing the storybook earlier, Budge, it hit me that this would be better in a larger, perhaps more hardcover format. Has that been discussed?
oh yeah. We showed we talked to our publisher about so many other formats. I think this was the most cost efficient format for the Philippines. So I would love, of course, the grand plan is, what do you call this? Hopefully, we can get this, published in other countries or have
Mhm.
another edition. But yeah, I would love for it to have that hardcover, what do you call this? Larger format someday.
Resmo87 says, I came here for Sarah. Who are these guys?
I invited him. He's too busy playing solo leveling. But let's see if we can drag him here in a bit.
Russ also asks, how about a crossover to children's comics? We need more children's content.
We would love to do that.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Would that be before or after Tressa Book 9?
Yeah. juggling all of these things at the same.
There are a lot of stuff in the back burner, right, Budge?
Too many.
See, there's a whole Facebook group that won't forgive me if I interview Budge and don't ask that question. I didn't say he had to answer it.
Yeah, fine.
Okay, let's close off with this, guys. Given that you guys just did a children's book, a storybook, do you want to recommend to the audience your favorite children's storybooks?
Go, Budge.
Okay. While you think about that, yeah, it's Chris van Allsburg has actually done a lot of other books, and he's done a lot of wordless books. I think Tuesday was one of them, right? Where the frogs suddenly fly for no reason at all. Um, with Seraph, I think Oliver Jeffers is our favorite. We got the chance to meet him when we attended the Lit Festival in Dubai. So yeah, so that's why Seraph is also happy to have most of his books right now. I think we have all of his books. Is there any other? Yeah, Jeffers writes really awesome books that I think he's also become very conscious of the messages that he wants to leave for his kids, right? And for the world. So he has a really thick book right now. It's still in storybook format, but it's called Begin Again. But it really reads like a manifesto of like encouraging or begging the world to, think about um how what should we be doing to our society and to our planet so that we have something to leave behind for the next generation. But that's always his artwork is awesome and beautiful. And then he has really silly books like The Boy Who Met the Penguin, and then they went on an adventure to the Antarctic. So it's he's got that spectrum of storytelling, which is super wonderful.
Bo?
Oh, any favorites?
Yeah. Well, actually the same because Chris Van Allsburg, but the top three, Garden of Abdul Ghazazi, Jumanji, and of
Oh,
course the Mysteries of Harry's Verdict. So he would be one of my top. The second is of course a classic. It's by Antoine de Saint-Exupéry. So it's The Little Prince. That is another children's book that is not just meant for kids.
Oh yeah.
It's meant for adults as well. And the story there to the idea of life should be simple. It's it just resonates. So I think that is one of my favorites, and I think actually I also got that because of my nephew who passed away, but that was also one of his favorite books. So when we did this book, it was really targeted at two. So it's the kid and the adult. It's not it really not just a children's book.
yeah. When I was a kid, I had these children's book versions of Dracula and Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. And now that I have actually read those two books in full, I realized that those children's books didn't really censor much. And I'm wondering why it got published in the first place.
How did they end the Dracula children's book?
Those were different
He gets
times.
stabbed in the heart
No.
by that one dude, Quincy.
Wow. Yeah, happily ever after. And they live happily
Jekyll
ever.
and Hyde ends with him committing suicide. This was a children's book.
Okay.
But maybe we could do something like that, but we can have like a disclaimer there. Children 24 plus years old, you know?
And this is my way of saying to Russell Molina, who is in the chat asking for more children's comics, that to Russ, you need to make Josefina for children.
Yeah. It was a perfect blend of it'll work.
Okay. In the last 5 minutes we have left, Budge, would you like to do a quick reading of the book?
Yep. Thank you all. If I can only find, oh, there you go. Share. Allow. Share. All right. Am I sharing?
You are sharing. I'm seeing the PowerPoint. There you go.
All right. For those of you who haven't read the book, this is just a quick preview of some of the pages from the book.
Yes, Butch is not going to read all 50 plus pages or whatever.
You got another hour left. You could do that. And then Bo will do voices of the other characters.
No, Bo will painstakingly describe every picture.
Yeah. Could do that. As you grow up, there will be nights when you'll have a hard time going to sleep, worrying about what might come out of the dark corners of your room. You might be kept up by the creaking wood that sounds like something is squeezing its way out of the walls, the tree branch that scratches your bedroom window, the dogs howling in the distance. These are the things you shouldn't be afraid of, for they are stories waiting to be told. Maybe the creaking wood is actually the sound of the house snoring. It is dreaming. In its dream, it stretches its long wooden legs and strolls down the street. Maybe it's off to meet with other houses to exchange items like keys, marbles, and that other slipper that you could never ever find. The tree outside your room is not a scary old tree. It is a skyport for elves who command flying jelly ships. When the branches tap on your window, that's their last call for any passengers who would like to join them for a tour of the night sky. The dogs howling in the distance are just practicing for their next big concert. They must ahoo and howl their best song. The winner will get a chance to sing for the great howler hound on the moon. Every time you're in the dark, afraid of the things you can't see, tell a story about it. The darkness is your blank canvas just waiting to be filled with a rainbow of stories. Whatever happens, don't be afraid to share your story. Write it, draw it, sing it, yell it as loud as you can. Don't be afraid of people who will laugh at you. Your story will be found by the right people. It will matter and mean the most to them. And they will say, "Thank you for sharing your story." That's exactly what I needed to hear today. Fill your life with the most wonderful stories that only you can tell. And just wanted to quickly, maybe Bo can also chip in here. So we wanted to show that Bo asked for Seraph's art, and then he found different ways to incorporate it. And Seraph has a phone in question, Bo. Who is Mega Boy? This is question.
Well, I use this character as Mega Boy. No, no.
His
Actually,
name is
this
supposed to be Patrick.
now it's Mega Boy.
Yeah.
No, no. Actually asked for some drawings from Seraph, so I could draw certain pages with the characters in them. So this is actually there's another illustration wherein the character can't sleep. The Seraph can't sleep, and he's surrounded by his imaginary characters, bored. And one of the characters is this one, this red guy. So you can see him there. I just wanted to pepper the whole thing with some of Seraph's stuff because being in our 50s, it's kind of hard to harken back, go all the way back and try to think like a child, try to really, bring that out. So I really depended on two things, and Seraph's drawings was one of them. And then my nephew, at least memories of my nephew, playing with my nephew every day for 9, 10 years while he was growing up. That made it into those two things made it into the artwork. So other stuff, it's everywhere. Seraph's drawings everywhere, and also for our friends out there, eventually who might see this in the future, I hid their names all over the book, so you'll have to look for them.
Yep. Easter eggs.
Easter eggs.
Yeah. Our barkada from high school, college. Yeah. So
I
here's
did
another.
notice a J Behemoth.
Oh yeah. It's a little hint. Oh, very very sharp of you, Dewey, to pick that up. So
I
yeah,
wonder
another.
if he tap dances.
He could. I'd love to see him tap dance one day. So yeah, here's the forest monster and how Bo brought him to life as this other, as the beast over here. And then lastly, yeah, here we go. Talking about the J Behemoth started out as yeah, this is like a yeah, see, 2023 artwork from Seraph. So he has art class every week with a Filipino art teacher. So he does a Zoom class every week, and they just do these lovely exercises of like coming up with it. Just every week, it's a different drawing. There's a different prompt, and his teacher guides him. So this is one of the artwork that Bo picked for the book. There you go.
Thank you guys for joining us today. Thank you everyone for joining us for this episode. To close off, would you like to tell people where they can buy Ever Wonder?
Ever Wonder is now available at on Summit Books, Lazada and Shopee pages, as well as now in National Bookstore and soon on Fully Booked.
Thank you guys. Thank you. Good show.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Thank you very much.
All right, bye.
Mm. Okay, we're done.
Oh, cool.
Thank you very much.